Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMels24, Unamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Dale West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Gilded and G+, and you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Who's that?
Righteous.
What'd you say?
I said if you can hear us, it almost seemed like you could.
No, I can hear you. You're a little low, though. Go a little higher on your mic.
I just got up. You gotta give me some time.
No, that's going to be me. I'll just turn him up.
Okay.
What about me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're coming in fine.
And they sound nice and clear. Excellent.
Yeah, what you do, Nathan? What's going on? Did
He's
you
a
figure it out?
magician.
Did you figure it out?
Spent many hours shouting at people who were helping me.
Hey, we're used to that. I remember the first time I was trying to help you on a show, and you cursed me out, and then you sent me an apology.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, I'm a complete prick.
Yeah.
When things aren't going right, the people around me were trying to be courteous and helpful. Even Matthias, believe it or not, was trying to be courteous and helpful. And I'm just not in the mood for it. I'm just like, just do as I say. That's all I'm interested in. Totally selfish.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
I
I'm
was-
10th man. I'm laughing when it's going on because I hear Righteous coming to try to help, Eli coming to help. I said, I'm shutting my mouth here.
Yeah, we learned our lesson.
There's no right way of dealing with me when I'm like that, unfortunately, because there's a problem that I basically can't figure out on the spot. And if there's something going on, like a live show or a recording, to a certain extent, I've got to keep the smiling face on, right? Got to keep that persona. But at the same time, inside, I'm seething. And at some point, I think it was QE while we were recording yesterday, he was like, "You sound very upset about this." And I was like, yeah, I am. Yeah.
Well, when you were trying to just get Gilded to talk, and people on the panel were talking, I'm saying, "Oh boy, he's going to explode any second now."
It was entirely my fault. So there's an output in Windows, and one of the outputs just sends a direct line for whatever the signal is straight into the preamp. It's a digital line. Now that is typically what the system's set to, so that my wife can watch Netflix or I can listen to music. It just means the computer doesn't do anything. It just sends the raw data to my preamp, and my preamp deals with it. However, if I want the desk to run, I have to go into Windows and tell it, no, go via the desk first, then go to the digital output, then go to my preamp. So I have to do that, and every morning since this show has begun, that is what I have done. I turn on the computer, change the sound settings so that it's going via the desk, and then restart the computer. Now, because of restarting the computer 50 billion times in the last month, I just forgot to do that step. It's an automatic step that if I'm in autopilot, I just do it. First thing I do. I didn't do it. So as a result, the sound's going directly out of the desk, but it's not technically going via the desk. So you're like, oh, bollocks. And I figured that out right after the end of 3 hours of fiddling with it. By then, I've changed every setting. So I've got to go back and change every setting back. Oh, so there we go. Oh, entirely my fault, my own ignorance. And I said it on Arwin's chat. And Arwin's response was like, no, your sound is so complicated. Bananas complicated. Computers are complicated. I was like, my folks ran a computer shop. My dad was a computer programmer. I studied sound at college. There is no excuse. I can't really say anything than I'm an idiot. Because it was, like I said, something I'd normally do on autopilot.
That reminds me of several times I've had the key to my car in my hands, and I'm looking all over the house for where are my keys? And they're in my hands, but I'm thinking I don't have them.
Yo, that happened to me yesterday with the tape measure. I'm like, where the hell is my tape measure? Pablo, what did you do with my tape measure? He's like, you're holding it.
Isn't funny how we realize one little misstep out of our routine, we totally, like you said, you always do it, but you restarted your computer so many times, it just, you forgot.
But it's not that I forgot, it's a new computer. So in my own mind, I don't want to restart the computer. You know, you want to go in and be able to change your sound settings. So that sound setting, I can change it. Yeah? There's no consequences. Typically speaking, if I did it after the show and then just press play on iTunes, a sound will come out, music will come out, and nothing more will be thought of it until the following day when I have to change it back. Then I'll restart the computer. Because it's new, you go, well, maybe I won't have to do that. No, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. That's what the computer wants. It wants you to restart if you've messed around with the sound settings. Fine, I just have to do that with this computer. But it means I'm power cycling the computer daily. Now, don't get me wrong. On the old computer, I say it didn't have any detriment. I went through 2 power supplies. Why? Well, because I'm power cycling the damn thing daily, just to keep the audio settings all in check. Well, that's just how it has to be, unfortunately. You know, in the last instance, I bought a really expensive power supply and replaced it with a really expensive power supply, knowing full well that I'm giving the power supply abuse by power. It's not that much abuse, but it's a lot more than most people do.
I'd say.
Hey, did you say meet the new boss, same as the old boss?
You never heard that before?
Who you talking about?
The computer. I have anthropomorphized this computer into a person now.
Yes,
Maybe
yes,
I should
Went
yes.
right
mention
over
that.
your head.
He's a cyborg. Just face
It's
it.
become like a person because of the amount
No,
of
see now
intimate.
this pun I'm gonna have to explain. The who meet the new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah. Have you never heard that before?
Yeah, and I said who you talking about? The who?
But what I'm saying is, I'm asking if that's the
No,
first
he's
time you've
trying
heard
to-
that phrase.
He's trying to do a subtle pun here.
Save
The
me,
who
Brian.
wrote the
Save me.
song won't get fooled again.
Save me, Brian.
And that they say that. Meet
He's
the
talking
new
about-
boss, same as the old boss.
He's talking about the Who band with those lyrics.
I see.
Thanks,
Okay.
Tent.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm a
I
child of
should
the
have left
80s.
it alone, right, Nathan?
Yeah, but not really. I'm the Who's before my time.
Listen, Roger, that it was a little adultery, though.
Oh,
I know who the Who
that's
are,
good.
but not knowing a specific lyric from their repertoire is that's not unreasonable for a child of the 80s.
No, that's a classic. That's a classic line. You should
Well,
know it.
that was a good segue, Neil. I got to hand it to you. So,
Well, ask Brian. Brian's a child of the 80s.
Who are
as
you
well.
talking about?
The Who. Are you a fan of The Who by any chance, Brian? Are you a big fan of The Who? Being a child of the 80s?
good one,
I
Brian.
do remember some of the Who. Yeah.
That's
But
not what I asked.
they were a bit before my time.
That's
Well,
exactly
sorry,
it. They're before
I
your
didn't
time.
hear what you asked.
Exactly. They're before your time. You didn't hear them playing on the radio when you were growing up.
I did hear the Who playing on the radio. I'm a little bit older than you, so I did hear them. Yeah,
How are you?
I did
You
that.
don't look it.
Yeah.
Just goes
I
to
can
show, eh?
understand the average song,
Thanks.
but not a major song like "Won't Get Fooled Again" and Bob O'Reilly.
Yeah. But won't get fooled again, Bob O'Reilly. I've had enough. You know, I've had enough. You know that track, Neil.
How old are you, Brian?
What's that?
45.
Oh, you are a little bit older than I am.
Couple of years.
Well, all we need is a 33 and we'll have a record player.
Oh, did I tell you that this PC, just to get the temperatures down, this is positive stuff, by the way, I'm not going to be moaning. It has like a grill on the top. And I took it off because I thought, okay, well, it's like a chimney. The whole design is like the air comes in from the bottom, it ejects out the top. It's a chimney. So I thought, well, if it's got a metal grate with little holes in it, that's gonna make it work worse. So I thought I'll take it off and just see what happens. Anyway, the net result is the 2 grey fans inside now look like big reels on a reel-to-reel player. That's what it looks like. I was
Wow.
scratching my
Take
brain
a
going, what
picture.
does this look like? Did
Take
I
a
tell you all this
picture.
yesterday, by the way?
Take a picture. I want to see it.
Okay. Just grab my iPad and I'll take a picture with it. I'll stick it in Master B and then I can actually show the audience.
That's crazy.
I don't know if I'm going to get a good
So
angle from here.
It's like a large blade to a fan, right?
Not going to be a great angle, but good enough.
Angle, you say?
Good enough for government work.
The angle dangle.
One deck got you on that one. Angle, you say?
I mean, I'm not going to be able to get square onto it to make it look pretty because I'm sat monitoring the show. But I'm not going to need a flat Earth to do that. Just need to spin around a bit more in a different time. I'm quite excited to do this. This is the first thing I've done that's not like my RAM doesn't work, the thing's not stable, it's overheating. This is like, hey, check out how nice my computer looks. I've put Lego in it. You know what I mean? Okay,
I
there's
had a
the
good
photo.
fun the other day when you said that too, but everyone was talking.
Okay, so I put it in Master B. It's rough and ready, but you can get the general
Yeah.
idea of what I'm talking about from high up when I'm standing up looking down on it, because that's this picture that I've just taken. It's just me sat next to it, just swiveling around and taking a picture.
Yeah, I see it.
But
I
from
see
up
it.
high,
Yeah, two of them.
when you look down on it, what you see is the two circular fans, and then the case around them kind of looks like, it just reminds me of a reel-to-reel machine. There's no other way I can describe it. Or an old computer. That was what I said yesterday, like an old 70s computer, like a mainframe computer.
Yeah. No, I see it. I can tell what you're talking about now.
I love
I
them
see.
reel to reels. I've never used a reel to reel for mixing tracks, but Greg Wilson, he's a Manchester DJ. He was one of the first DJs in the Hacienda nightclub in Manchester to use a reel to reel to mix songs together. He still uses it, and it's great. It's great to watch him on his reel to reels. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I bet. Not easy either. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate that it's just, one sound source and another sound source, but with a turntable, you've just got so much tactile interaction with the material in terms of how you cue it up and stuff. Whereas I would imagine that's a lot more long-winded on a reel-to-reel player, right?
Hey, speaking of angles, can you guys see this?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Doesn't it look like the freaking tangent?
What were you doing? I didn't get a chance to put you up on screen.
This is we're doing like a studio, like Matthew Barney studio. He's like some weird type of freaking art and movie type guy. So he's doing a video. But this guy, he was trying to get this on a computer, and the angle wasn't going with the the curve on top. It's like when you're aware of it, you like see it all over the place. Like you can't get it on a curve.
What you're saying is angles don't jive when you're talking about curved surfaces, because
Yeah.
there's no angle to be had.
Yes. It's crazy because he was on a computer getting all these angles, and I'm like, wow, this is like, that's what I asked. How should I ask this guy about the elevation angle? But a guy like that would catch on, It would strike him, I believe.
Well, you just asked one question. Can you get an elevation angle from a curved adjacent or a curved baseline?
And he would have to say, no, can't you see me going crazy over here?
This is death of them.
Temp, they're not using a curved baseline, mate. They're using an imaginary tangent line, which is horizontal, but it's only imaginary in physical reality. It's not real. It's in their imagination. But they claim
Now,
to
if
be
you
using
change-
it when
if
navigating.
if you change that a little bit, it's the way I see it is you're not using a curved baseline because that's imaginary. What you're using is the Earth, the irregular plane itself, which they take down to the center, but it's really where you're at. That tangent plane is the Earth. That dingleberry underneath is the imaginary.
Right, a tangent's just a straight line. So it's just a way of saying a straight line. But the straight line we're going to be dealing with, we'll call a tangent, meaning it's got a dingleberry Earth dangling below it. But what all they're doing is making apologies for having to use a straight, flat line. They should
Yep.
call it a tangent so they can associate it with a sphere.
That's why I like your
Yep.
saying it's surplus to requirement, the dingleberry. It totally is. I mean, it's just perfect wording.
Yeah. What when they say tangent? Well, okay, what's a tangent? Okay, so it's a straight line meeting a curve. And which bit of that are we using? Well, just the straight line. Okay, so the to a curve bit isn't actually required or used. No, just the straight line. Well, that's not a tangent. That's just a straight line.
Yeah, and when they do the bubble sextant and say you don't need to use the Earth's horizon, right? Well, what is that? That's a fictitious horizontal, another straight line. And it works on that because it has to work on the real one. I mean, it's so obvious.
Exactly. And this is what they're saying. I'm using a tangent line. I say, well, if you're actually using it when you're out on your boat, can you just take a picture of this tangent line for me so I can see it, please? If you're using it, send me a photograph of it, and then I can see what it looks like. But they can't do that.
That's great.
Nathan, I have 2 images in Master B. I just can't share my screen. I'm just on my phone at the moment. If you'd
Blue
like a bit
marble.
of lighthearted stupidity from anti-flat earthers.
Okay,
before
got
the show
the
starts.
first one, the blue marble, right?
Yeah, the blue marble. Yeah. So this is the actual. I made sure to get this is from NASA's website. So this is NASA's blue marble, right? We all know this is from 1972, right?
This is the one with
Now,
the
if I move
upside
on-
down sex in it. Let's just have a look.
No, I don't think that's this one. This
No,
is,
it's not. No.
This is the 1972, not the 2015 one, I think. But if we move on to so everyone knows that. So if you move on to the next slide, right? And I'm going to read out this stupidity from anti-flat earthers, right? So the blue marble is an image of Earth taken by the crew of Apollo 17 from a distance of 29,000 kilometers from Earth. Flat earthers dismiss it by incorrectly claiming the image covers a too small area of the Earth due to their failure to account for the map's distortion. Right? Map. This is supposed to be, for a start, this is supposed to be an actual photograph of the Earth, right? And he wants us to account for distortion, right? So as you can see down here on the left, he has a big red X on what he says the flat earthers are claiming. Now, if you look at the blue marble above it and look at what's in that little red circle, that is exactly right what is shown. It actually even adds more. There's actually less than that shown in this in the blue marble, right? So any flat earther that would say that would be correct. They're not really. It doesn't show enough of the globe, let's just say. So he writes, flat earthers drew a circle on a map, but without accounting for the distortion of a supposedly real photograph. They falsely claim that it is the entire visible area of Earth in the blue marble. Over on the right then, he has a red or a green tick to say this is the correct one. This is the correct visible Earth surface of the blue marble image on a Mercator map to overlay a shape over a map. We need to use the same projection as the map, right? The same projection as the map. The Mercator map, if you look at the size of Greenland, I should have got a Mercator map actually. Look at the size of Greenland to Africa, right? Right. This is from 2015. I was literally destroying borders in 2015 with just this one argument. The Mercator map is not the scale for reality. Look at the size of Greenland in comparison to Africa. The Mercator map is not a scale map of the actual size of the continents and countries in conjunction to each other. The Gold Peters map is claimed to be the correct sizes, right? So not only has he said they didn't take map distortion into account with a supposed photograph of the globe, right? But he also then goes on and shows what they would have used, or what he's using is the Mercator map, which is not the scale. I mean, this is who's out there trying to debunk us. I mean, this is the take of this is phenomenal. I'm done. Thanks.
I love that blue marble statement. Maps distortion when it's showing a supposed picture of the Earth.
Yeah, it's like they're not taking the map distortion into account. How could you have distortion in what's claimed to be an actual photograph? You know what I mean?
Where was that photograph
And
taken
then
from?
he's sorry.
Where was the photograph claimed to be photograph taken from?
Oh, violation. A place that violates entropy.
Oh, out of
Just like
space.
me.
They're claiming that image that they're arguing about scale on came from a place that isn't real. It's like arguing about a photo that came from Narnia then.
Yeah. Oh, I just happened to come across it literally a minute or two before I joined the show, and I started laughing. I said, I have to show this because the claim that we're not taking distortion into account when we're looking at a claimed image of a globe Earth from supposed heliocentric space from 1972, and then to go on and show how we should have taken distortion into account using a universal transverse Mercator map, which is a distorted map. That's the one they distort all the circles of equal latitude on, so they then have to undistort them and put them back onto their globe with the Haversine formula. You know,
this image is it Michael Collins' original, basically, isn't it?
Rob
It's a painting.
Simmons.
Yeah, no, Michael Collins was the fourth, so claimed to be the fourth man to walk on the moon, and
I thought he was the guy
he
that-
was.
I thought he was the painter of these.
Yeah, well, that's what I put forward, is that he is the painter of these, because he was in part of the Apollo 17 crew. This is, but he just didn't. He was either in the LEM while
He was in the LEM.
supposedly
When they
Yeah,
were walking on the
well-
moon, he was orbiting it, or claimed to be orbiting a rock in a sky vacuum. Complete lie.
yeah.
But meanwhile, there's plenty of footage of him painting shit like this, right?
Yeah. Actually, it's hidden now. You can't find it. Like I used to be able to find it. You can't
No.
find it now.
Yeah. There's got to be flat earthers. I've seen it trimmed in other people's videos.
Someone
They
has
can't-
it.
They can't
Someone
memory
has
hole that. I've seen him do it. I've seen him against a massive backdrop doing it with the paintbrush in his hand. They can't just memory hole that, can they?
Well, it just made it difficult to find or something. I don't know. But the last time I looked for it, I couldn't get anything that was worthwhile. As opposed to a few years ago, I could get all the.
Yeah.
Because he specialized in painting the moon, the moon from Earth and the Earth from the moon, or something like that.
Yeah, basically.
So he was a photorealism painter.
Yeah, like Math Powerland. That was Math Powerland's whole argument.
Yeah,
Look, I can
that's
do
why
it
Matt
too.
Powerland can-
Math Powerland's whole argument was, here you go, I can do it too. I can create this.
Yeah, photo or painting.
Exactly.
I mean,
Thank
it is just absolutely ludicrous, isn't it? I mean, I know we. Sometimes I just really think about it again. Sometimes about this ball Earth, and it's absolutely ridiculous. You know, you don't think about it like that all the time, but it's ludicrous that people can actually believe this shite.
Well, but
Fucking stupid.
there's more than one way. There's more than one way to destroy this thing. Nathan brought up the first. It's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. There's no outer space for them to go to take this picture. The other way is say, oh, there it is. So it must have a radius of 3959. Let's go check it out. Oh, here's a black swan. Sorry, that proves it's fake.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
There's, I
Wonder
mean,
if
there's no way to get around it.
does anybody claim to take? I mean, I'm talking on from their point of view. Like, does any of them claim to take regular measurements of the radius of the globe, and how do they do it? I mean, if it was a globe, yeah, in space and it's expanding or doing whatever they say it's doing, you'd be interested to keep an eye on how much it's growing or shrinking or whatever it's doing. So how are they claiming to measure this globe?
Their globe is like a prostate
Send
gland.
this body of water to me.
Their globe is like a prostate gland. It shrinks and enlarges depending on the day.
Explain this body of water to me.
No, here's the thing, and I know you got it, but I'm going to say it again. If they insist on this picture being real, and we say it's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, it's not real, then if they insist it has to be real, they say, good, I'm going to hold you to it then. 3959 is the radius. So every horizon distance can be no further than, and you can't violate that. Now, if you violate that, then we know the picture is not real.
Well, just something else that I want to point out that NASA did that was really sneaky. They always give you that exact photograph, right, of this claimed blue marble. But it's not to scale of the actual photograph that you would take if you were in those, if those, hypothetically, that scenario was real. What they're limiting somebody doing is doing an angular size measurement via the diameter of the globe from the moon, so or from wherever they were. So they're claiming to be a certain distance from the globe Earth when they took the photograph. The photograph that they give you takes up the whole screen, so you don't get to even question them on an angular size. It's like, oh, that's not the right angular size for something from that distance. You don't get to do that. They just give you a whole screen, so you don't even get to see if they're angular, if what they're claiming works out as an angular size measurement of it, if you understand what I mean. Sneaky.
Did I ask him for the details, Brian?
Sorry?
I found some details. I thought you were asking for their admission of how they made it.
No, this is from the 1972. This is the 1972 one, not the 2015.
Right. That's in the history bit. This one. In 2002, NASA produced the blue marble, most detailed true color image of the Earth's surface, using data from NASA's Terra satellite. Stitched together 4 months of observations of the land surface. So we're admitting it again now. And clouds into a seamless photo-like mosaic of every square kilometer of the planet. And this is the same thing in it, the new one, similar thing. Just taken in 2004, but it's there, look, the admission there, look. So stitched together, this one is as well.
Can you post that in Master D?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Adam, when they conclude that in a conversation with someone showing this as proof that the Earth must have a radius then?
Put the pictures together based on our.
Yeah, I mean, it's valid. I mean, if this is true, the Earth must have a radius value. Do we know the radius value of this Earth of theirs?
Well, the thing about it is that
And when was the last
the
time they measured it?
The 1972 blue marble was a photograph. They had to make sure that was a photograph. So it was just a photograph of a painting. So the way they formulated it in 2002 and 2015 or 4 or whatever, that was different. And what I remember back in 2015, I remember us holding them all to task on all the different looks and landmass sizes and stuff and distortions within all the different photographs. Nothing was matching up. I remember that being an argument back in 2015. And I remember a cousin of mine who was a staunch globetrotter and probably still is, who had degrees and stuff. So.
I mean, you could point out
just
the
one
land
second.
distortion.
Just one sec. You said you got degrees and stuff, and then I'll reset my desk. Sorry. Can you you all laughed. It won't get the same effect, but can you repeat yourself?
Yeah, I held my cousin to task on all these different images of supposed globe from space and how all the land masses were different and all that kind of thing with them. None of them matched each other. And they were using the wrong map. They were using the Mercator map, which is not the Gold Peters projection. and the Mercator map is admittedly not correct for land masses and country sizes and etc. and and dimensions. And after 3 weeks of arguing with me, he lost the head because he couldn't debunk what I was saying. And this is in 2015, and he had degrees in some kind of branch of science, and he lost the head and called me a Nazi. So that's what I got off him.
Thank you.
No worries.
I
Thank you
sometimes
for
think like
draining
that,
all the fun out of that story.
So, Brian, was it the first time you were right that he got mad at you, or was it the Third Reich?
Hey, I got a funny story with Phil Bell. He was in Arwen's chat, like picking on flat earthers. And so, like, I stepped in because he was saying that time could be an independent variable, you know? And we all know that's ridiculous. So I said, well, define what you mean, you know? Like, what do you mean when you say manipulate? And he's like, to count the amount of is to manipulate. And I was like, I don't think that's manipulate. And I was like, if I count the number of stars, did I just manipulate the sky? You know? And he wouldn't let it go. He would not let it go. He wouldn't admit he was wrong.
They never
they
do.
never do they?
No, these people never concede when they're wrong. That's why there's no reason to keep talking to them.
Yeah, they never concede. I don't know how the only concession I've ever gotten from them is when they suddenly disappear. When you absolutely prove, especially if it's something to do with heliocentrism, that they were getting wrong, something you know better than them about their own model. They just disappear and they respawn later, maybe 5 weeks later or something, they come back. That's what I found, is they get to a point where they get something totally wrong and they just disappear. They never go, you know, you were right about that. I'm sorry. I don't think I ever got that from any of them. I don't think I ever got that. I think one of them maybe said, okay, I think you have a point there. I was a bit incorrect about that. But what they try and do, if they're going to give any concession, is they say, oh, sorry, I got that part wrong there. But anyway, and they try and look past it and try and argue on as if they still have an argument. You know what I mean? That was the closest I ever got to concession.
Well, to be an anti-flat earther, you have to redefine globe claims. So it's like, what's the point of talking to them? They're not even defending the globe. They're redefining the globe claims. The globe is against anti-flat earthers because we attack globe claims to see if they're true. Will they vet out? Does the Earth have a radius? These guys come in here, redefine everything. They did it with celestial navigation. We're reading out of the books, showing experienced navigator, telling them you need a 90. And they're saying, no, I don't agree with that. It doesn't matter if you agree with that. That's the way it works.
Yeah, it's all tactics. That's all they got at this stage. One of the tactics they use on YouTube in comments sections, what they'll do is they'll start having an argument with you. The argument won't be going their way, or they'll feel it's about to not go their way. So what they do is they start another thread on a different place. Could be underneath another comment you made, and then they start another thread. So you'll end up trying to reply to them on 3 or 4 different threads. So anyone who's trying to read the original comment or the original argument will be lost eventually as parts of it are over on other threads. Do you know what I mean? This is what they do. They dilute the whole situation, and they make it. They kind of duplicate themselves 3 or 4 times, as many as they can, to get away with, as many as they can get away with. And they do this as a way of diluting from the original argument they started with which they were losing. But for someone who doesn't know, it would look like just it would look like the argument went to a point where nobody won or lost it. You know what I mean? That's how they try and work it. They try and spread it as thin as possible. You know, so nobody ever gets to the root of where they were actually wrong. This is what they did.
They're convoluted, is what you're saying, to the point where you can't remember what the point was.
Well, yeah, you don't. The original point gets lost up to a point unless you hold them to it. But if you keep holding them to it and it's obvious they're not winning, they will then go and start another two threads or three threads on different. So they're then looking for you to reply to them on this other video as well and on this person's thread, and it's like they're bringing the same argument up to a point, but they're diluting the whole thing because they know they can't win it.
Well, that's what I found out when early on I would post a chat on one of Nathan's videos, and of course, like clockwork, they all show up, and then they say, "Well, 10th, what about this?" Then I would answer that, and then, "Well, what about this?" And I go, I need you to comment on the previous answer. And so the whole point is they start copying and pasting like a whole book. It's like, what? I'm not going to read this off. You still have to concede on the point you lost.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by 10th Man, the Adam Meakin, Brian's Logic, Neil, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Gilded, so welcome one and all.
Greetings.
Hey.
Morning, good morning. Glad to be here.
Hello.
Good to be here also. Very pleased to not be tinkering with hardware. Almost for the second day, technically the first, but you know how it is. Software, that's something else. Software. Anyway, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Can I upset you first?
If it's about the live stream not going out or something disastrous like that, please don't let it be that.
It's glitchy as hell, and I don't know. It might be worth you taking a look. It's just the imagery. I'm not listening, but the image is just like jerky and odd. But I'll mute up and have a listen, see what I'll come back to.
Okay, yeah, I'll have a look at it.
No, to your question.
You can have to talk amongst yourselves. I can't do both. Sorry.
If you research it, they'll tell you like it's boats disappearing over the horizon, and they even tell you if you climb a tree high enough, you'll be able to see the curve.
Well, you know what, One Deck, when you read the older books from the previous centuries, the people who were in our shoes taking on these false claims, you know what they were saying? They were saying, well, you're not accounting for perspective and refraction. Now, what's happened now is they're flipping it around and they're saying to us, it is refraction, when back then they weren't accounting for it, but they've changed the meaning of refraction to 7/6R rather than light bending. Notice the trick.
Right, from just using the distortion in the visual, which might be refraction, slight displacement, they automatically reforged their earlier efforts during that little philosophical struggle between us into now just always having been terrestrial refraction, even though it's not compatible at all. One is orthographic view based, the other one is based on actual optical visuals.
Yeah, I mean, all of the rebuttals to boats disappearing was perspective and refraction from the flat Earth side. And it's interesting how that's evolved to where they're using refraction in such a terrible way, because it's not even refraction. It's physical Earth curve of the atmosphere with but you got to have R, but they don't have R.
Well, they got to optically
point, Ted.
flatten that curve, right?
But when you assume something, you can make things happen on paper, but it doesn't mean it's reality.
But the reality is that it looks flat, but it has to be curved. So terrestrial refraction,
Well,
you know it's a ball because it looks so flat.
Okay, so if I go to the lumber store and I get some wood, can I say it looks curved, so it must be flat?
Well, if it was big enough, as largest part of the Earth, then yes. But it isn't. It's smaller, so it doesn't count. You could just use locally flat system.